I'm not much of a lad for the birds and the trees and the wide open spaces as a general rule, but there's no doubt London's not at its best in August. Most of my pals were away, all the theatres were shut, and they seem to be taking up Piccadilly in large spadefuls. Jeeves, it is beastly hot. The weather is oppressive, sir. I think we've had enough of the metrop for the time being. I think we require a change. Shift-ho, I think, Jeeves. What? Just as you say, sir. There is a letter for you, sir. I say, this is rather extraordinary. You know Twing Hall? Well, Mr. Little is there, and so for that matter is my cousin Eustace. I expect he's studying for some exam or other with the vicar. I used to study with him myself at one time, and when I tell you he got me through Oxford, you'll gather he's rather a hot coach for those of feeble intellect.
Dear Bertie, do you want to make a bit of money? If so, come down at once and get in on the hottest sporting event of the season. I'll tell you more when I see you, but you can take it from me, it's all right. Eustace. Do you understand it, Jeeves?
No, sir. Well, I think we ought to have a look at any rate. Just as you say, sir. Well, since I have a standing invitation to pop down to Twing Hall when I like, if you'll just buy us 2 tickets on the 5:10 at Paddington tomorrow. It's well been said that one of the best ways to implement change is to mercilessly ridicule human behavior. And this is the absolute forte of Sir Pelham Grenville Wodehouse, an early 20th century British writer, who many of his best-loved stories center around this dynamic duo of Bertie Wooster, the typical upper-class twit, and his ingenious valet Jeeves. In this particular tale, found in The Inimitable Jeeves, he once again pokes fun at Bertie Wooster and his friends as they endeavor to run a betting scheme on church services, of all things. They shall receive their comeuppance. The 5:10 was late, as usual, and so everyone was dressing for dinner at the Hall when I arrived. I slid into the vacant chair as quickly as I could, and found myself sitting next to the Earl's youngest daughter, Cynthia. Great pals we've always been. She's a dashed pretty, lively and attractive girl and all that, but full of ideals. I may be wronging her, but I have a sort of idea she's the kind of girl that would want a man to carve out a career for himself. At any rate, we're good friends. I think she's a topper, and she thinks me next door to a loony, so everything's nice and matey between us. Hello, old thing.
Hello, Bertie. So you've arrived?
Yes, I've arrived, and I seem to be in the middle of quite a young dinner party. Who are all these people?
Well, you know most of them. There's Colonel Willis and the Spencers.
Yes, and there's Heppenstall, but... Ah, there he is.
There's who?
Bingo Little, great pal of mine.
Good gracious, is he a friend of yours? Tell me, Bertie, is he at all weak in the head? And I don't just mean because he's a friend of yours. But he keeps looking at me so oddly.
Oddly?
How?
Give me an imitation. I recognize the symptoms at once. Oh, that's all right. Nothing to be alarmed about. He's just in love with you. You don't know him. Bingo Little falls in love at the slightest provocation. At any rate, early the next morning, just as I was waking up, Eustace burst into my room. Hello, Bertie. Good to see you, old man. It's like this, Bertie. You see, there's about 9 of us up at the vicarage studying with old Heppenstall for an exam. And of course there's nothing jollier than sweating up the classics when it's 100 in the shade, but now and then you do begin to feel the need for some relaxation. And by Jove, there are no facilities for relaxation in this vicinity. But Steggall's got this idea. What idea? Well, you know how many parsons there are around here, and every parson preaches a sermon every Sunday. So, tomorrow week, we're running off the Great Sermon Handicap. Each parson is to be clocked by a reliable steward of the course, and he that preaches the longest sermon wins. Study this race card, it gives you the odds and prices. Why, it's a sitter for old Heppenstall. In the days when I was with him, he never preached under half an hour. And there was a sermon of his on brotherly love, lasted 45 minutes if it lasted a second. Has he lost his vim lately? Not a bit of it. But you see, Bertie, you simply must come into this. The trouble is, I don't have any money.
And Bingo Little hasn't any money, so you're going to have to finance the syndicate.
This gave me pause, needless to say, but the more I looked at the thing, the better it looked. Finally, I decided. Bingo, I'm coming into this. Eustace is quite right. It's like finding money by the wayside. Good man. Now I can see daylight. If I have a tenner on Heavenstall, and I cop, well, then I have a nice little sum to take with me to Alexandra Park, where I got a tip straight from the stable. And then I'll have enough money to marry Cynthia, the daughter of an earl. I say, old man, aren't you looking ahead rather far? Oh, that's all right. It's true nothing's actually settled yet, but she practically told me the other day she was fond of me. She said the sort of man she liked would be a strong, manly man with good looks, character, ambition, and initiative. And so matters stood until Tuesday afternoon when Eustace came rushing up the drive to tell me something. Bertie! Bertie! We all overlooked someone. Reverend Hayward. I happened by the merest chance to be riding through his village this morning. There was a wedding on, and he preached a sermon of 26 minutes. At a village wedding, mark you. What'll he do when he really extends himself? I thought for a moment. I think I see a way whereby we can make things safe for our nominee. I'll pop over this afternoon and ask him as a personal favour to preach that sermon of brotherly love. I toddled on over that afternoon and fixed it up quite nicely. The vicar seemed surprised and touched that I should have remembered the sermon after all those years. But I fear, Mr. Worcester, that in these modern times, brevity in the pulpit is becoming more and more desiderated by even the bucolic churchgoer. Long? Why, my goodness, you don't call that brotherly love sermon of yours long, do you? It takes fully 50 minutes to deliver. You don't think I might be well advised to make certain excisions and eliminations, do you? I might, for instance, delete that rather exhaustive excursus into the family life of the ancient Assyrians. Don't touch a word of it, or you'll spoil the whole thing. I am delighted to hear you say so, and shall preach the sermon without fail this Sunday. Saturday morning, however, Jeeves came to my bedside with the telephone saying Eustace wanted to speak to me. Hello, Bertie? Bertie, we're sunk! The favourite's blown up. Heavenstall's been coughing all night long. The doctor's with him now, and it's only a matter of time before he's officially scratched. What do we do, Bertie? Put another fiver on Reverend Hayward all round. That should bring us out on the right side of the ledger if he wins. And so Sunday morning dawned. I found myself talking to young Bingo. Ah, hello, Bertie. Stout fellow. See, I was just talking to Eustace on the telephone, and it's all right. Reverend Hayward romps home. Are all the returns in, then? Well, all except for Reverend Bates, but he hasn't got a chance. Bates always preaches about 10 minutes. By the way, poor old Jeeves loses his tenner. Came to me this morning and asked me to put £10 on Bates for him. I told him he was a chump and not to throw his money away, but pardon me, sir, this note came for you just after you left for church this morning. My dear Worcester, as you may have heard, circumstances beyond my control have rendered me unable to deliver the sermon for which you made such a flattering request. However, I am unwilling that you should be disappointed, and as such, I've given the manuscript to my nephew, Bates. If you will attend divine service at Reverend Bates' parish, you will hear it delivered by him. Trusting that his delivery of the sermon will grant you as many fond memories as you seem to have of mine, I remain cordially yours, F. Ebbett. Great Scott! You had inside information, Gadget! Why, yes, sir. Miss Butler happened to mention the contents of the note to me when he delivered it. We are old friends. Well, all I can say is that it's all a bit thick. Why do they get off preaching other men's sermons? Is that fair? Is that honest? Is that what you call playing the game? I think I'll go for a walk. But my dear old thing, it's just lunchtime. The gong will be going any minute now. I don't want any lunch.